Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to add harmonics to really any drop that you might be making. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. So what I'm going to do is I just have a blank template here. I'm going to go ahead and make like a little drop from scratch here. So let's go into these Patreon samples here from Nasco, and let's just find one of the rhythms he's already pre-created because I think that'll make the most sense for this actual example. So let's go through and find something here. So I'm going to find some cymbals. Something like that is cool. I'm gonna lower the volume a little bit, and then let's do some kicks and snares as well. There's a clap, there's a kick, copy that to the sidechain, and then let's find an actual snare. There you go. Lower that clap a little bit, and then lower the kick volume a little bit as well. Got the sidechain going and a hat or a little cymbal loop going here. Let's just grab a hat just for some consistency. A ride will work fine, and then we'll just cut it down a little bit so it sounds more like a hat. And then what we could actually do to make it sound a little bit less harsh is let's go into audio effects, grab a vocoder, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this vocoder to noise, turn off the enhance, dry wet all the way up, turn the bands down. Something like that would be cool. Let's rock with that. So here's what we got just for a drum loop. Turn down the clap a little bit more, and let's go ahead and grab a bass sample here as well. So just grab something like that, move the fader over a little bit, and then we'll just do something like that. And then just to make it sound a little bit better, let's add like a glitch or something at the end just to make it sound a little bit more interesting while you're watching the video. We could actually go in and grab like a glitch effect rack. Let's turn this on towards the end. And then let's just process this a little bit as well to make it sound a little bit less boring. Let's add some OTT to it. Distortion. And then we'll add some high end. And then lastly, before we add a tonality layer, let's just grab in a sub as well. We're in E, so let's just drag in an E, and then I like to make sure these are offset a little bit so they align better with the bass pattern. Drag this down into the right scale, and then let's go ahead and grab my sub preset here. Let's drag that down a few decibels. We'll do -8. And now what we can do is one of the things I like to do to add tonality to basses, of course, you could just go in and find some like color bass one shots or whatever. But to make it sound a little bit more unique, what I like to do is make a new audio track and then go actually into my splice and start finding pads that I think could fit the song. So here's one that I think could sound cool. I'm going to go ahead and tune it, and then this is what it sounds like. So it has a lot of information going on here. It's a pretty long sample, a minute long. So what we could do is we could go ahead and we can start cutting this up to fit the actual bass sample up top. So let's go ahead and just drag this here. And then what we could do is I'm going to zoom in and adjust these faders in order to fit and emulate the bass sample above. So let's just do something like that. So it's going to follow the actual kind of volume pattern of the top sample. Let's lower the volume a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an EQ as well. And now what we can do is I'm going to duplicate these, and then we can go back through. Let's make this one at the end a little bit longer so it's going to follow the same pattern. And then you can press Option Shift and you can drag these over to find a different pattern that you might like a little bit better, or a part of the sample that you might like a little bit better. Cool. And then we can start dialing in some effects. So you have a kind of a tonality layer on top, so let's make it sound a little bit more unique. So what I like to do is I like to get into the saturator here, go to Senoid Fold, go bass, and we want to make sure we have this before the EQ because the bass is going to affect a lot of the low and like under 200 hertz stuff. And then what we could do is let's zoom back in and we can draw just a curve for this to follow to add a little bit more distortion, a little more variation. And then we're just adding that distortion to kind of fit the overall theme of the song. And then we can just duplicate that, maybe lower this one a little bit, and then duplicate the two. Maybe have this one go towards the end. Let's find some of those harsh frequencies in here. Add a little bit more variation. Let's try a flanger on top of it, or let's do a phaser instead. Add the rate, and then you can mess with the feedback as well. And then another thing you could do is either add a vocoder, kind of clean up the sound if you want to have it that kind of vocody type sound. So let's drag all these shelves back up. Something like that might be cool. And then we can add something like an EQ on top of it if you want to draw in some like bands for it to actually move with the sound. So let's try something like that as well. And you can do this with like a shaper or something and map that to it. Let's just do it by hand here for simplicity's sake. Something like that. Maybe drag this one up a little bit higher just to give it a little bit more movement. Let's drag these down a little bit more. And then last but not least, just to clean up the sound. So there you go. You went from a pad sample to something that is going to emulate with the bass sound. So if we play it all in context, if we turn it off, it sounds like this. And with it all. So it can give a pretty cool effect, add some tonality without adding too much kind of harmonics to make the drop sound any less powerful. And it gives the top sound a little bit more of a variation so it doesn't sound like you just ripped it straight out of a sample pack. Now, of course, you can keep going with this with other pad samples, with one shots, anything that you can manipulate to fit the actual kind of pattern of the top, but it can add some really cool tonality. Again, more variation, make your sound more unique. So that's all I have for you today. Hopefully you took something from this and maybe you can start using pads in your production in this way. But thank you for watching the video, and we will see you again in the next one.